To remain updated with the latest business news, click on the bell icon.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today. I'm Sakshi Batra and the union budget has been presented. Now to decode what this budget really means for you and me, especially the investors in stock markets, and how do we analyze the budget in terms of the stock markets? How do we go ahead? All of this will be discussed in this very special discussion. I have with me a special guest joining in. Mr. Vivek Bajaj joins in. He's the co-founder at StockEdge and eLearn Markets. He's a very well-known face on social media, and he's been talking to all of us, explaining to us how do we really go about our investments and approach financial freedom as well. He has a big fan following. Thank you so much, Vivek, for joining in. Great to have you right after the budget.
Thank you, Sakshi. Good morning to you. And you.
Thank you so much for joining in. Let me just kickstart by asking you, your verdict on the budget and how the markets have reacted. Clearly, second day in a running, and we have seen the markets cheering away.
Yeah, so Sakshi, whenever we think about budget, we should always consider the circumstances around the budget. And, what was happening globally as well as in India at a macro level. There was inflation concern, there was unemployment. In pockets, a lot of industries are doing great. But you see, overall, if you look around us, talk to people around us, there is a fair bit of stress at a local level. So now government had two options. Either they give money to households in the form of tax cuts and push them to increase the consumption. That will lead to growth. Now you see already because interest rates are so low right now that, availability of money is not a problem. So consumption-led growth is already happening. So government had great opportunity to focus more on macro and, it should be top down. So this year was, and because we don't have the big election, like after 2 years or 3 years, we have the big election. Sure, we have some state elections, but government could have actually gone away and not done some populistic thing. So I think government did quite well in establishing a good foundation for the next 25 years.
Absolutely.
So I would say that it's a well thought, intelligent budget, I would say. It's not a populistic budget. I'm sure people are finding the whole no tax benefit, etc. Typically
disappointing
nothing for the middle class. But one has to understand that if your base is strong, then the long-term prospects become much better.
Yes, that's very important. Two very important points did you told us that understanding the context is very important. That this budget has come at a time when the entire world has been dealing with the problem of rising inflation and also the rising interest rates, the rising crude oil prices. All of this forms the context, and yet at the same time, the government has actually not gone into the risk of being populist right ahead of the 5 or 7 state elections, but yet pushed for capex, pushed for growth at this point in time via spending on infrastructure, which may create assets and jobs as well. So that's a big positive right here. But in terms of, stock markets, how should we approach markets now? Can going ahead, inflation and the rising interest rates really derail the kind of momentum that this budget has built for the stock markets?
So, I don't think so. This budget was meant for stock market short-term movement. Okay. It is clearly, the focus is clearly that bigger target of making India a $5 trillion economy. So the stock market will come back to its pre-budget actions. And we know last 2 years have been a great movement, and there has to be a time-bound correction, consolidation. So this year, 2022, will be a year of consolidation. So if you see the inflation in US and other countries in Europe and Japan has actually come a positive inflation now. So inflation is definitely a concern. So everyone will try to combat that by either increasing interest rates or by managing the money supply. So I think this year we will see fair bit of jitteriness in the market.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe another 3-4 months of consolidation, and then we probably would see a clear direction.
Okay, understood that. Now, there were a whole host of announcements in this budget. I mean, perhaps no sector was left out. You talk about renewable energy, solar energy, electric vehicles, green energy, everything was talked about, autos, you name it, the steel industry, infrastructure, everything was talked about in this space, affordable housing. In terms of sectors and stocks, if you could help all our viewers understand where should one really see opportunities, what the budget has hinted at. Is it railways? Is it EVs? Is it solar or infra? Where is your focus going to be?
Sakshi, there are some terms which are, has a huge SEO advantage, and you can use them frequently to jargonize your speech. So yes, today's world is full of AI, machine learning, and EV and other. But if you see actionable, if government is focused more on macros, then
Yeah.
the sectors which are related to macros. So if there is more
Okay.
infrastructure spending happening, then obviously iron and steel, cement, these will become beneficiary. So at a consumption, at a consumer level, banking is something which definitely is seeing moonshots. Look at ICICI Bank, look at number of Axis Bank and NBFCs. But that is not something which government has done, right? That is something which the whole business, the business cycle has done, where interest rates are low, and those companies are beneficiary of the low interest rate regime. So what government did was very smartly plugged in the missing link, which is more on macro side. So I would focus on all the sectors which are facilitating this macro engagement in India.
Right, absolutely. Also, help us understand, the finance minister did touch upon how the LIC IPO may come in this financial year. Everybody has been waiting for this entire year to hear about how this IPO will come into shape. We have seen the last year being big in terms of the fundraising via IPOs. Investors have gone into frenzy. They've invested in probably every IPO that hit the street, over subscriptions, shooting the roof as well. Help me understand what this LIC IPO, if it comes in this financial year, as hinted by the finance minister, will create an opportunity for all the investors who are looking at tapping this opportunity.
Well, if you see last year, IPO market was largely driven by massive inflow of liquidity, not just from Indian investors, but also global investors. So all the QIPs were oversubscribed. So that's why we saw massive return generated, except one or two, three ones, which have questionable IPOs. But this year, the flow of liquidity definitely will get tightened. So it is not going to be as smooth as it was last year. But LIC is something which I think every one of us are waiting for, not just for the purpose of immediate return, because even government has realized that they can't sell their asset cheap. I mean, there have been cases where they sold, they came out with an IPO of a few companies earlier, and it was quite relatively lesser value. And today, government has realized the concept of valuation, right? So I think LIC IPO will also not be cheap. It will be fairly valued. So short-term benefit, I'm not expecting that we will get huge IPO-based returns. But the fact that you want to own one of the India's largest company, a bit of share of that will inspire a lot of policyholders also to remain invested. Will it be a bubble? I don't think so, because LIC has a clear business model. There are many companies with not clear business models still trading at a high valuation. So I think LIC is going to be one IPO where people will park money, but that money will be definitely a long-term money. It will not be a hot money.
Okay, I understood that. I know the next question that I'm going to ask you actually requires a deeper discussion. We will definitely carry it in some other discussion about, but definitely it deserves mention in this interaction as well. And it's the mention on cryptos that the government has finally done in this union budget. We did not see a crypto bill coming in, which was slated to come in the budget session, but suddenly we see the government dropping a 30% tax on cryptos. Social media has been buzzing right after that announcement. Some are saying that perhaps this is government's way of legalizing cryptocurrencies. The government, on the other hand, and several experts from the policy making space have been saying that, any taxation does not mean something has been legalized. Could you explain to all our viewers what this step of government really means for the world of crypto?
I think it's more of a tax clarification. In fact, I'm perplexed that why are people presuming that it's a new tax which has been introduced? If suppose you are trading in crypto and you are making money, the law of land says that if you make money, you have to pay tax. As simple as that. Unless it's gift. Okay. And when you are sending money to any crypto exchange, you are not getting gift of return, right? It's an application of your skill set, which is leading to making of money. So 30% tax is something which is given. Even in a lottery ticket, when you buy and you make money, you have to pay tax in India, right? So it's nothing new. It's a clearly a clarification from the government that people who are transferring the money, but they are bringing back the profit and not paying the tax, they have to pay the tax. I think the real issue is the TDS, where government has introduced 1% TDS. What will that do is all the frill characters who were using crypto for illegitimate purposes by transferring their cash or whatever different ways and means of transferring money, those people will probably move out of the system because 1% TDS means that you have to give your PAN number, you have to be more accountable with whatever transaction you are doing there. That I would say is kind of formalizing this whole system, because the moment you have TDS, you have PAN number, right? And the moment you have PAN number, that means you're part of the formal economy. So I would say 30% is not the reason why I would say government has legalized crypto. Anyways, government has not legalized crypto, that is for sure. But at least government has accepted crypto as an asset class. So there is a very thin line of difference between making it a legally tendeable asset class or an asset class, right? So I think government has shown the intent that they have full reason to believe that it's an asset class and they are willing to take some tax out of the profit which you make.
Okay, well, on that note, I'd like to thank you for sharing all these wonderful insights with us, breaking the budget for all us investors of stock markets, what to expect going forward from here in terms of different sectors and stocks, and especially that clarity on cryptocurrencies that the government, by taxing cryptos, has only given a clarity that if you are making some profits, you are liable to make, give taxes to the government on that, but it is still not a legal tender. Keep that in mind when if you are investing in cryptos, and do speak to your financial advisor before taking the next step forward. Thank you so much, Vivek. Always a pleasure having you with us, and hope to have you, on many more occasions to discuss much more on stock markets too. Thank you so much.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share, and subscribe.